So, like I said earlier, we've never done panels on the low carb cruise before. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Never done panels on the low carb cruise before, so this is kind of a first. And no better way to kick it off, right? Than to have all the lovely ladies from Keto Evangelist. A couple of years ago, Brian actually came on the cruise, and Mitzi's one of our old timers that's been here for a while. But they want to talk about some of the common concerns that come up in the coaching. And so what you're going to hear from them is like the personalized coaching that they do. The them is Jessica, Mary, and Mitzi, and they're all Keto Evangelist coaches. I said, who's moderating this panel? They're like, you can introduce us and then we're good. So they're going to go over, and apologies to you guys over there. We really couldn't figure out how to logistically set this up better than this, so my apologies for that.
Should we stand?
What's that?
Should we stand?
You could stand in the middle if you wanted to, guys. You want to do that?
Mary's the star.
Because I know that you guys would appreciate that.
Mary's got heels on. She needs to kick her shoes off, then she's fine.
Kick them off, they could take
Yeah,
their
you guys want to do that?
Yeah, what?
That way,
Sorry.
they're not mad at Jimmy more later.
We have a
on
fashion
Instagram.
show going on here. Look at these. These are beautiful.
Could they be more coordinated?
I know, right?
It was not
I did that on
We
purpose.
literally did not plan it. We did.
So you heard Jackie talk about some of the common things that happen with the patients in Atkins Clinic. You guys have a unique perspective because you're talking to all these people that have preconceived notions about keto from what they've read online. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Mitzi. Take it away.
Hi. I guess it might be helpful just for us to take a couple minutes just to introduce ourselves and how we ended up.
You got to eat the microphone so we can
Doing
like
what-
lick it.
Okay. Doing what we were doing. Back in 2012, I was that sick and probably dying. I mean, we all are, but I mean, I was on a fast track to death. And I just decided to take my health back into my own hands. And while I was doing research, I found something called Nutritional Therapy Association. I was intrigued, and I decided to sign up for the curriculum just to learn for myself, because I just wanted the education. But then what I learned was so amazing that I had to share it with other people. So in the process of my healing, nutritional therapy helped me tremendously. But it helped to a certain point until I discovered low carb and Jimmy Moore and living the low carb.
It's still hard to difficult
They-
to hear you.
They like to cruise, and I'm like, I'm about cruising, so I'm gonna go on this cruise. And it was the cruise in 2016 when they talked about this thing called keto, and people don't eat carbs. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And well, the rest is history, because now devoting like all of my nutritional therapy that I do is devoted to keto and low carb. And I coach people in other things too, but mostly it was definitely keto. I stopped weighing myself at 200, so people want to know how much have you lost. I think probably at least 50 or 60. Size really doesn't matter. I just know that my clothes aren't getting tighter, and I wear the same outfits every year on the cruise on purpose to compare from year to year to year. So this is recycled. You've seen it. That's okay. Right? Yeah. So I found Keto Evangelist through Mary. She was my inspiration. And I said, hey, I want to do what you do. Can you help me? And so I've been doing this since November 17, I think. So anyway, I hand it over to Mary.
Hi. So I have struggled with my weight my entire life. I spent most of my adult years being obese. And then at age 42, I found myself, I was, full-blown type 2 diabetic, out of control blood sugar. I had high blood pressure. I was on losartan. I had psoriasis, asthma, and allergy issues, all kinds of problems. I was miserable and tired. And I found keto through my friend Brian Williamson, who, if you know, he's the Keto Evangelist. I love that name, by the way. Like, people always think like it sounds religious, but but that's what we do. We share keto. So anyway, I learned about it through him. He has a son with epilepsy, and I had tried Atkins several times because I knew I had a problem with carbs. I'm a former binge eater, and one day Brian said, forget Atkins, do keto. And I was like, what is that? I'd never heard of it. So like Lindsay said, you know, the rest is history. So I've lost over 100 pounds and reversed my diabetes. I maintain an A1C of 4.9. I no longer have psoriasis issues, no more asthma and allergy issues. I used to have to carry my inhaler with me everywhere, like since I was 5 years old, and I haven't touched it in 5 years. So, and then, yeah, my psoriasis is cleared up, no more high blood pressure, my cholesterol is great, and so a few years, a little over 3 years ago, Brian came to me and asked me about starting a coaching program with him, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But he convinced me, and so now, I run the Keto Evangelist coaching program with my friend Katrina, who sadly she's not here. And we have a team of about 14 coaches, and we get to work with a lot of people from different, coming from different backgrounds, but the majority of the people I work with have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and they have food addiction issues, and that's really where my passion is helping people overcome their eating disorder and looking at food in a new way.
You guys did great. I had to take notes so I remember what to say, but I will say this.
Right up to your mouth, Jessica.
I will say this. I think that we don't do what people think we do. People come to me broken. They do not come for macros. In fact, I lost 135 pounds on keto, never ever counted a single thing, and I still don't. And I really help people get free. People are very obsessed, and so what I do is I really help them unwind that, and I help them get well with keto without having to count. 3.5 years ago, I believed my life was over. I hadn't driven for 5 years. I didn't go outside. And I don't mean like I was scared of people. I didn't go outside. I had, like at one time it was 5 months and I had not stepped outside to feel sunlight on my face. Literally, I was homebound. My blood pressure was sky high. I was on shots for migraines. I took 17 pills a day for anxiety and depression. I was missing out on my children's lives. I was not on social media. I dropped off the face of the earth. And I was up to 309 pounds. Since age 11, I struggled with anorexia and bulimia, mostly bulimia. And as I got older, it was compulsive overeating. As an adult, my low weight was 115, and then my high weight was 309. And so I was all over the place. And I literally had tried every diet. I've been in and out of hospitals for eating disorders, and I never stayed well for any length of time. I did every diet, literally. There's not one you can name unless it's brand new that I didn't do. So at 309 pounds, I came to the conclusion I was about to die. My blood pressure was crazy, and I'm like, there was a point that I was so depressed I didn't care if I died, but when I was really faced with, I could have a stroke and die, I decided I wanted to live. And that's when I found keto. I found Ketogenic Success. My husband actually found it and added me to the group. And I thought it was Atkins because I had done Atkins before. And so I started off doing that. And the page was small at that time. So it was a great place to learn. It was really easy. Like, Mary was on there, Brian, there's just a few people. And so I realized that it was a little different. Specifically for me, I knew how to do low carb, but the higher fat was what I needed. And that was scary because I grew up in the low fat age and did, 20 grams of fat a day is what I used to do when I was very thin. Anyway, so for me, I needed that formula. And I agree that different people need different formulas, but for me, that's what worked. So I realized after about 2 months that I had not binged or purged. And that was the longest I had ever gone in my adult life. And I wanted to know why. I became obsessed, and I read every book I could get my hands on. I visited every website. The first book, of course, was Keto Clarity, and it was amazing. I took it to everybody I knew to read, and it opened my eyes. It changed my life. The other thing that happened was within a year, I got off of the meds. I stopped having any migraines. I didn't have to I traveled with shots just in case all the time. I got off all the anti-anxiety meds. And it's not that I don't feel anxious sometimes now, but my brain works so much better on keto. I can work through it without doing something drastic. And of course, I'm on a cruise with a bunch of people. I'm not in my house homebound, and I drive. So people who come to me, they read my story and they're like me. So it isn't, we barely talk macros. Yes, they lose weight. I lost 135 pounds. But it's all about behavior change and negative beliefs and confronting lies that we tell ourselves with the truth.
Dr. Berry has a question.
Hey, guys, I love your story so much, and I love that you're being courageous enough to share these, because I know this hurts to say some of these things out loud. Looking back now, because you had eczema, you had psoriasis, you had hypertension, you had diabetes, but did you? You guys know I'm very aware of language and how we use it. Looking back now, from your perspective now, do you still think you had the medical diagnosis of psoriasis and bulimia, hypertension, diabetes, or do you now look at it as just a carbohydrate overdose and a carbohydrate poisoning?
Absolutely. By the way, I reversed fatty liver, and I have a normal A1C, but go ahead.
All right, well, this is probably not what you want to hear. I became bulimic at age 11, and I never heard of it, didn't know it exists. And over the years, I did many, many, many different diets, and I always still binged and purged. So even if I was doing no carb, which I did a meat and egg diet back in the 90s sometime, I read that, I still would binge and purge. So I think for me, the bulimia is behavioral, and it was a soothing mechanism. And there's so much, most people I work with, they don't overeat or they don't binge or they don't purge because they're really hungry. They are angry, lonely, tired, and because they've always used food when they felt those emotions, then when that feeling comes up, it feels like hunger. So for me, I think it was, yes, full-on eating disorder.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Second, what Jessica said, I've had, an eating disorder since I was a little girl. But I do believe that I got to all the, medical diagnoses that I had because of the food, that I was poisoned. I see it as toxic now. And when I voice that, I've been called extreme or, ridiculous for saying that, most of the food that's in the grocery store is poison. So I do believe it was.
I had a lot of stress in my life, and I turned to food to cope with that. But I also was a fan of Susan Powder because, hey, if it was low fat, I was eating bagels and wondering what, I thought I was eating healthy. So yeah, it was misinformation, and I would eat cake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if it was in my house, but it had no fat, it doesn't have that much fat in it. I put applesauce in there, I didn't put oil, just rationalizing. So a lot of it's misinformation, and yeah, carbs taste good. So yes, my body can't properly process carbs. I just have to admit it, I'm a carb addict.
I can talk more, or we can do questions.
Why don't you bring up those comments and concerns that you guys...
Okay, absolutely. Like I said, I think one of the things about a group of coaches, I don't know if there's something else just like that anywhere, but for Keto Evangelist coaching, all of us has a really unique story. There's some overlap. Like my main story is severe mental illness, and eating disorders, and that overlaps with Mary, who has food addiction issues and diabetes, and then her diabetes overlaps with Elena, so there's a little bit of commonality in all of us, but when people they're looking for a coach, they go to a page and they read our bios, and they want to hear themselves, and there's someone for them, which is really, really cool, because there are people who really, like, I don't even offer macros consultations, and everybody else does, because it's not what I do. So I think that's one of the really cool things about coaching is that you can get what you need by finding the person who has healed from it. And we use our experience, of course, but also we continue to learn and grow all, every chance we get. For me, the most common thing is emotional eating. I really help people with identifying whether they are actually hungry or whether they are angry, anxious, lonely, or tired. And most of the time it's the second one. Real hunger is quite a different thing. And so, like, rediscovering our body's hungerful signals by not eating for other reasons is super important. And then the other thing is, it's negative self-talk. Like, most of my clients believe that voice, that sabotaging voice in their head that says they're not good enough, or they're not losing enough, or they're not worthy. And we really work through a lot of body image issues and self-beliefs. And we really talk a lot about that voice of sabotage. We call it ED. It's short for eating disorder. So when they say something to me, sometimes I'll say, well, I think I hear Ed talking. Because Ed says all those things that Jackie had up there. Well, you can just have one bite and you're an addict. And my clients are addicts, full on. And all those things. So it's Ed, the voice of sabotage, that we work on the most.
The majority of the people that I work with, they want to, they see my story and they're like, well, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and, I want to have a normal A1C. But the thing that is preventing them from doing that is the emotional eating. I would say, probably over 90% of the people that come to me, they struggle to stay on keto because they constantly give in to the voice and, cave to at the family barbecue, or it's their birthday, or they go out to dinner and they feel deprived because everyone around them is eating something that they can't in their mind. So it's really that part of it that keeps them from healing, even though they, and I've had plenty of people too that they've been on plan. They haven't cheated or gone off plan, but they're binging on keto foods and not losing because of that. So we work on the emotional side and why, what do you think the food's gonna do for you? Why do you turn to that? I've had a woman who was a client who she got a flat tire and she was so stressed about the flat tire that after it was fixed, she went to the drive-through. And like most of us, we can hear that, we're like, what does that have to do with a flat tire and how did that change your situation? And it doesn't. But, we engage in these behaviors and then, how many people have said, that, I'm trying so hard, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, why do I keep, doing this, or what, So it's finding out the why and addressing that, because so many people think it's the food and they just need to know what their macros are and just tell me what to eat and I'll do it, and they ignore all the stuff that's connected to that. I mean, because we can tell you, well, here's a food list, here's some macros, but if you are not addressing your emotional triggers, you can only do that for so long. It's just as sustainable as, any other diet if you don't, like Jackie said, fix what's in your head. And that's the only thing that'll make it lifelong sustainable.
Okay, so I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction from a nutritional therapist standpoint, because we all, when we go out in the groups and we're providing support in response to people in the groups asking questions, the things that I focus in on and the things that really, I'm at the point now where I have a standard response that I've typed up about 200 times. I finally saved it in my notes so I can just cut and paste it, and then I drop the little truth bombs, and then I go away, and then I watch the implosion happen. But
that we deal with it.
yeah. So the number one thing is we don't talk about electrolytes because we think that's a fancy word, and we just want you to think that we know more about this than you do. Electrolytes are not optional, and if you mess with that, you're gonna feel tired, sluggish. You're gonna say, this keto thing doesn't work for me, I don't feel good on it, I have these leg cramps. So electrolytes matter, and I just wanted to clear that up, okay? And Keto is not going to wreck your gallbladder, okay? Because you were eating low fat, no fat before, your gallbladder is already sluggish and goopy, the bile that's in there. So if anything, maybe you want to do some things proactively to support your gallbladder before you start keto, instead of blaming keto. And I feel sad and angry sometimes when people say, I can't do this anymore, I have to quit, my doctor told me it's to work on gallbladder. So that's a common thing. Also, my cholesterol has gone crazy. This keto, I'm losing weight, I feel great, but my cholesterol is wrecked and I have to quit now. Well, no, you're moving fat from your booty into your blood so you can burn it for fuel. So where is it going to go? Of course it's going to be there. But just temporarily, until your weight stabilizes, your cholesterol numbers will stabilize. So don't let your doctor scare you into stopping. And I mean, the truth is the truth no matter how many times you tell it, so you're going to keep hearing the same things over and over again. Truth. Okay? The other thing, I've been keto X amount of time, and I've only lost X amount of pounds. What am I doing wrong? Okay, let me get this straight. You've changed your lifestyle. You've been on it for a certain amount of time. You've lost weight. I'm failing to see the downside here. So do not tie your success to a calendar. There's no, you're going to live for a very long time, and every single day you just want to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. So the calendar has nothing to do with it, so let's throw that one away. And then Jackie said it, get rid of the scale. You need to trade in your bathroom scale for a kitchen scale. Okay, so you can weigh your food. Because you need to know how much 6 ounces, 3 ounces of protein. And then when you get that, you don't even need a kitchen scale anymore. Those 5 things drive me crazy on a daily basis because I just want everyone, we really do keto evangelize, I want everyone to feel as good and be as healthy and enjoy life. Wake up and say, what am I going to tackle today, instead of, oh God, another day. I have to face another day. What am I going to wear? I have to go face people. So, I mean, that's just what I want you to take. Those are just my 5. I'm sure I could do 5 more.
Good morning, Adventure Offices. This is Freddy, one of your destination experts on board. We hope you're having a fantastic time at sea today. Now, if you're wondering what to do in our beautiful ports of call, Port Canaveral, Miami, Nassau, and our own private destination, Perfect Day at Coco Cay, we have the right answer for you. Happening at 10 a.m. at the Lyric Theater, we have the short excursion destination tour where all the information that you need will be provided, plus amazing raffle prizes. So don't miss out. See you there, Lyric Theater, deck number 3, 10 a.m. Bye-bye for now. Ciao.
You can come up
as a client, can we talk a little?
Eat it.
As a client, can we talk about plate fat versus body fat for a minute? Because I know concerns about
Thanks for that controversy. She said, as a client, and Sabrina was a former client of mine, and now she is also a coach. Very good. She asked, can we talk about plate fat versus body fat? And I said, thanks for being controversial. And I really, really have to dig into this. I'm going to give it to Mary to talk because she's so passionate. One of the most important things that Jackie said today was different people need different things. I am very flexible within ketogenic ratios. Not everybody needs a ton, and not everybody can handle not a lot. I need high fat. I lost 135 pounds eating about 85% fat. And I need it for my ketones. My brain, my sick brain needed high fat for my mental health. I had 12 sessions of electric shock therapy. I was desperate, and I had tried all the meds for psychiatric disorders. I was so depressed. I was suicidal. So that was terrible. It wiped out a lot of memories. I was a mess. Keto brought me back. Like, I can't even explain that. But the trick for me, I had done Atkins and it hadn't done it. The difference in keto was the high fat. For me, I need that. Now I have clients that are more like a 1-1 ratio. They eat equal fat, protein, whatever, that works for them. But I think, and Mary will talk more about the science side of it. But for me personally, I desperately need that. My daughter, who has epilepsy, has to eat very, very, very high fat. Now, also a success, Clara, some of y'all know her, Super Keto Clara. She was on 6 pills a day and still had seizures since she was a little girl. And we put her on keto after I've been on keto about 7 months. And now she's coming up on 3 years, and she's on 1 pill a day and hasn't had any seizures in a year. Actually, in fact, in the last 3 years, she's only had 1 seizure. So, and that was while she was completely off meds. So it works for your brain. I always think if it's good for her little brain, it's good for my brain. And so I'm not just proof of that, she is too.
I like to use, when it comes to defining a ketogenic diet, I just go with what Dr. Finian Volek said, that it's 65% or more fat, 30% or less protein, and 5% or less carbs. And I'm flexible in working with people in, those parameters. Not everybody thrives at 65, not everybody thrives at 80 or more. So I think it just depends on, your current metabolic condition, what your goals are. And I think that, finding that sweet spot, it's not one size fits all. And so I do get kind of, when people say that if you have fat on your body, you shouldn't have fat on your plate, that really upsets me, because people they interpret that as meaning they need to eat low fat. And then they're hungry and they're under eating on keto at 900 calories a day. And then they end up binging, and it's just this perpetuated diet cycle. So I think the high fat is important, and the definition of high fat depends on you. But I think that the parameters that Finney and Volek have laid out are pretty smart.
Okay, so I also go by what Dr. Finney and Volek say as well. So if we are limiting our carbs to 20, that's 80 calories, right? If you're moderating your protein and you determine what your protein is, say for me it's 60 because it's easy to do 6 times 4 is 240. So there's 240 and 80 calories. There's 320 calories I'm taking in between carbs and protein. I do yoga and I go to the gym. I need at least, it says 1900, I just rounded up to 2000 calories just to maintain. So if I'm only getting 320 of those calories from protein and carbs, where's the rest of it going to come from? It's going to have to come from fat, and it's going to have to be plate fat. Otherwise, I'm chronically undereating. And chronic undereating can lead to things that are not pleasant, like dry skin, brittle hair, hair loss, things like that. So that's when, if I'm trying to lose weight, I may not go as high as 2,000. That is what I sustain, the energy required for me to sustain my weight. I may even back it off a little bit. But yes, you have to make sure that you're adequately fueled. Otherwise, you're chronically undereating. You do not want to do that. And do we even want to go into the fed and the fasted thing, or no?
No.
We don't want to do that. Okay. Has that spurred any of
Fasted versus fed.
Yeah, to ask a question in regards to fat, because that's the one thing that's been really very difficult for me to figure out. I've been a Dr. Atkins since 1970 something, and on and off, of course, because of being weight loss weight, just like getting that hog ready for market, But anyways, and now I've found the keto diet, and it's been very successful for me. I've lost 85 pounds. I've got 9 medications. I had heart surgery 2 years ago, and I'm now on 1 medication, so all is good.
Yeah, spot for
The
you.
only problem is I'm doing all of this and not really knowing what I'm doing, because I don't know how to figure out what 65% of my fat should be.
No.
Right.
If your body is doing all that, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
But it's stressing me out, right?
It's too much information. There is zero reason to stress about that. Your body you just gave us your testimony that your body has reacted so well to what you're doing. You don't need to change what you're doing. If it stops working,
Well, that's the next thing. So
Yes.
I'm always fluctuating now. I can't seem to stabilize where I'm supposed to be. So I get down to goal weight, which is around 160. A week later, I'm 170. You know, so.
She's still dieting.
How much? So I feel
Stop
like-
dieting.
So I feel like I'm always dieting.
Let me
versus-
ask you, how is your health numbers? Like, are your numbers good? Do you feel good?
Yes, I do, and I go to the doctor because of the heart surgery, and he's scared of keto, so he pokes me every 60 days to make sure that.
And every 60 days, what's the outcome?
He's looking for cholesterol and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So cholesterol is high, but because of Jimmy Moore's book, I learned the word,
Triglycerides?
Triglycerides, and I said, well, how are the triglycerides? He goes, oh, well, those are under 100. I said, well, do I need no, okay, so all that's happening good. I'm just stressed because I'm constantly going up and
you know
down.
why you're going up and down? The stress. Chill out.
So, because what I'm hearing is you successfully lost 85 pounds, your health improved, and you feel good, and you're making yourself not feel good because you think you're not doing good enough. Just let it go, relax, and enjoy your life, and keep eating keto.
Like,
Yeah, stay off the scale.
it's that it's the diet mentality that takes us to a place that we have to say a defining point where we have arrived. And I think that's what it is. We're all looking for this arrival point so we can celebrate. And you're missing it. You're missing what you should be celebrating because you arrived some time ago and your health improved. Your weight will stabilize at what it's supposed to be, but I guarantee your stress over your weight is causing that fluctuation.
I don't need to figure out the system.
Let it go.
If you don't want to, if we're not supposed to be counting everything, or if you don't want to count everything, how do you know if you're chronically undereating?
Well, typically you don't feel very well. A lot of people ask me, like, why did keto help you get well from bulimia when Atkins didn't? And for me, I ate a lot of meat on Atkins and I still got sick, I still binged, I still purged. For me, it's the satisfaction. We have ignored our body's signals for a really long time. Like, we eat when people tell us to eat, we eat by the clock, we eat when we're emotional. If you really, really dig through and only eat in response to your hunger and you eat enough fat to feel full, you're not gonna mess up. I mean, I've helped hundreds of people and most of them haven't counted and they lose their weight. But you do have some troubling side effects, and I'll let Mitzi speak to that, but she spoke briefly about there's some things that you find out that happen with chronic deprivation, but the biggest thing that happens is it works. Like, it absolutely works to only eat 800 calories, right? You'll lose weight, but you will rebound because at some point your metabolism lowers to that point, and the only way that you can lose more is to cut more. And I've been in that trap too when I had anorexia. So over time, you're gonna have metabolic issues. You're gonna say, I'm only eating 800 calories and I'm actually gaining. And that has happened to me because your body's like, it shuts down all the stuff that it doesn't think, like we think hair is important, but our body's like, no, I'm gonna protect her heart. So the little bit of energy that I'm taking in, I'm gonna use for the essentials, and I'm gonna see, in old pictures of me when I was very, very thin with anorexia, I looked just dull, lifeless, like, you can see it in people's faces when they're malnourished.
So here's how I coach clients. I just tell them you're gonna need to track just to get an idea of what a 15 or 1600 calorie day looks like for you when you're on keto. I tell them you don't have to track forever. You just need to get an idea so that you can visually tell that that's a 6-ounce chunk of steak and this is a 4-ounce chicken thigh. if you're not measuring and you're not tracking, then you don't know what your fuel intake is. So when you've seen what a 1,600 calorie, 1,800 calorie day looks like for you, then you can replicate it. But how are you going to know until I threw a piece of pork belly on a scale, I had no idea. The average weight of a piece of pork belly from Costco is like 6 to 8 ounces. I know that now. I just know in my head. I just say, okay, that's an 8-ounce piece, and I'll throw it in the air fryer. So you have to track for a little while to know. You don't want to guesstimate, but once you've done it, then you've got it. You know what your portion sizes are and what your energy intake is, so that you're not going to chronically undereat. And a day when you undereat, like if you don't feel good and you're tired and you have a low calorie day, it's not a big deal. But you don't want to do it all the time. And having a huge calorie day, this is going to make people crazy. And I already posted about it. I will lose weight on this cruise. Why? Because I'm going to be eating like a pig all the time. But only keto foods. Only keto compliant things. And I probably will be down the next year. But I don't know because I'm only weighing myself except about every other month.
I think your question, like how do you, some actual signs are hair loss, your nails are brittle, you're fatigued, or you're not losing weight. We've had a lot of people come to us and they've been really under eating and they're scared when they're told they need to eat more, but the majority of time when they start eating more, the scale starts moving again. But those are the most common signs of under eating.
And you can
gradually increase your caloric intake. Slowly, so that your body can adjust to having adequate fuel. And then, see, think about it like this. Your body's not dumb. It's not going to overspend energy that it doesn't have. So if you're chronically under eating, it's going to be less likely to tap into your fat stores to spend that. It would be like losing your job and then you want to run through all of your savings. Heck no, if you lost your job, you would start cutting things back, right? And try to live within your means that you did have, or make it last as long as possible. Your body's going to do the same thing. So just fuel it properly and let the magic happen. And for some people, this goes back to the, I've been doing this for 2 weeks, what am I doing wrong thing. Some people, it's going to take a long time for your body to heal. Other people, it's infuriating. They do this keto thing. I've seen guys, in 3 months, they've lost 60 pounds, and the guy is ripped, and he looks great. And I'm like, I hate you. Right? And then other people are still in the process of healing. I have clients now that are still healing.
I'm still healing.
And we all are. We've never really, truly arrived. But one thing is for sure. If you fuel it properly and you treat your body properly, and I'm talking about taking care of it as far as stress and moving it in a positive way, positive thoughts. Yoga changed my life, and this isn't a yoga cruise, but I can turn it into that if you want to. But,
Namaste.
Find whatever it is that works for you, because all of that's tied in. You can have the food totally dialed in. If your sleep and your stress and all of these things are not, are out of control, it can sabotage the food part. But here's the thing, while you're going through that roller coaster of stuff that's happening in your life, and sometimes stress is thrust upon you and you can't control it, but as long as you're eating keto, like I'm coaching this woman right now, going through a laundry list of things, like the best thing you can do, Christine, is to stay keto. Just keep it keto. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, babe, and this is going to get you through it. So all those things matter. Don't discount that. That's why it's more than the macros.
Just to piggyback on that sabotaging voice in your head, Ed, he's the one that says you can't make it through this difficult situation without food because you never have. And some of you guys probably fall off or make that decision to eat off plan because you say there's no way I can get through this stressful life situation unless I eat my way through it, because it's what I've always done. But the truth is you need to feel good and you need to be strong in those situations more than the average day. Eating well is going to help you feel well, and it's going to help you get through and not be a victim of the stress that is around you. Question?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, what about intermittent fasting? Because I think that's an important feature along with it. I mean, eating adequate calories to suit your needs of your own body, that's one. But I think also intermittent fasting gone a long way in my case with diabetes.
I think we all intermittent fast. I'll talk on the way back up and then I'll hand it over. It happened to me naturally. It was quite a shock. In the past when I didn't eat, it was always like a forced white knuckle thing, like I'm not eating. It becomes quite a surprise when you realize you've gone for a while not eating when you're used to eating all the time. And that's part of that satisfaction that the higher fat gives you.
I think intermittent fasting is great, and like Jessica, I naturally fell into it. When I first started, I was eating 3 meals a day and 2 snacks because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And one day I was eating and I was like, and this has never happened to me, I was eating, I'm like, why am I eating? Because I just wasn't hungry. So I just decided at that point I was just gonna eat when I was hungry and not by the clock. You know, we're trained by society to eat at meal times. And I think, you know, and in certain situations, like my flight over here, when they handed out snacks, everybody took them. Was every single person on that plane hungry at that moment when they were eating the snacks?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I was.
But so I think it's a great thing, and it definitely facilitates healing.
So just like they said, it just kind of happens naturally. And I would get up, part of my self-care was I would get up every morning and I would make an omelet, and I would have bacon and there would be cheese and some vegetables in there. And I would eat that before work. And one day I was making that and I had it out on the plate. I was getting ready to eat it. And I said, I'm not really hungry for that. Put it in a bowl and take it with you and eat it when you're hungry. So then it became my lunch. So I was eating at like noon. So I wasn't, and dinner would be at 6. And then I read Jimmy's book with Dr. Fong, The Complete Guide to Fasting. I read it and I said, holy smokes, I am intermittent fasting. This is easy. There's a word for it. I just thought I wasn't.
And it's an F word.
So you need to just pay attention. If you're not hungry, it's okay not to eat. And let me tell you, when you're out somewhere with friends and they're passing around, you know, taking orders, you can say, ice water, I'm fine. I'm not hungry. It's okay. Oh, come on, you gotta eat. No, eat when you're hungry. Honor your body. Listen to your body and eat when you're hungry. But people will text me, clients, I'm hungry. We'll eat. Eat. You have my permission to eat.
I think this discussion goes back to the your hunger and full reflexes, those hormones starting to work again. So if you're working through your emotional issues and you are not eating because of soothing or because of emotions, then what happens is those hormones actually start to work. And if you don't ignore them, if you actually listen to them and eat, and then you stop when you're full, it works like it's supposed to. I always say our ancestors did not walk around with these apps putting in their macros. You know, they didn't have their jugs of water with the line saying you gotta drink this much. They drank when they were thirsty. They ate when they were hungry or when food was available. So.
You guys set? Okay.
Thank you, ladies.
And as our very first panel ever on the low carb cruise, I think they did pretty well. What do you think?
Good job.